Candlelight flickers across a crowded table as Yi sits crowned, surrounded by laughter and a birthday cake. Yi raised a finger and teased the others, warning that saying a wish out loud would stop it from coming true. Hugged Yi from behind and urged him to reveal his secret, while the adults chimed in with disbelief. He cleared his throat and said he would reveal the answer if anyone truly wanted to know. He gazed at the glowing beam as the family wished out loud to stay together forever. A massive explosion tore through the light, leaving Yi staring ahead with blood on his face and shock in his eyes. Fire erupted through the city as the building shattered, smoke billowing, while distant screams echoed from the chaos. Moments later, he tumbled through the collapsing building with two women as debris rained around them, and he called out for his family. A blast ripped through the air as Yi, caught off guard, shouted in fear while jagged debris crashed down around him. A giant dragon unleashed blazing beams of light across the city as he watched, sweat streaming down his face in shock and fear. He recoiled in shock and shouted a panicked cry as the noise echoed through the ruined air. He burst into the classroom, startling the students with a loud whoop as everyone turned in surprise. A stern teacher pointed at Yi and demanded he explain what the Earth OL era meant, putting him on the spot in front of the class. He scratched the back of his head and apologized to the teacher, saying he was late because he had worked too long the night before. The teacher ordered Yi to the back of the class, while classmates muttered that he was either a nerd or about to get punched. A man in a long coat brought up a glowing Earth hologram and asked what Earth OL era meant. A monstrous, armored dragon with a glowing red eye bursts from the flames as chaos spreads, and the narrator explains that Earth became a perilous game world in 2036. 5 armored figures stood before a glowing globe, their presence marking the rise of powerful leagues that brought order after monsters devastated the world. Yi, determined and ambitious, looked up at his status display and said everyone was fighting to get ahead in these dangerous times. In the crowded school courtyard, Luo, an assertive student seeking an answer, called for Yi to stop, demanding to know what he wanted. Luo, an assertive and dominant gang leader, demanded protection money from the confident Yi, adding with a smirk that it was due this month. He crossed his arms and asked Luo why someone he once protected now demanded protection money from him. A smug rival fighter punched Yi in the chest, slamming him to the ground and taunting that Yi was weak and unworthy. Suddenly, a fierce female fighter with white hair drove her foot into Yi's chest, sending him crashing backward as he yelled for her to stop. Yi, a powerful young fighter, confronted the shocked onlookers and demanded that they leave, her fist raised in unmistakable warning. Then, as Yi coughed weakly, the group of boys in red uniforms hurled insults and scrambled away in fear. Still, his supportive sister placed her hands on Yi's shoulder and insisted he would become the best fighter, despite his low level. Yi gently patted his sister's head and reassured her that, as her brother, he wasn't going to give up easily. He walked away with his companion toward the glowing city, quietly admitting he felt like a loser who couldn't be upgraded as they agreed to go home. Yi, standing before a sunset-lit city, asked himself why his level couldn't be raised and swore he would never give up. Yi stood surrounded by family as they cheered and told him he must stay strong to protect them. He stared sideways, his voice shaky as he wondered aloud if his nightmare could actually come true. Around a table topped with gifts and cake, a considerate Yi asked his parents if they could go out for grilled fish. Street lamps cast soft halos across empty sidewalks as the city rests quietly beneath a deep blue night sky. Yi, calm and confident, told the cheerful silver-haired girl he was just being paranoid since nothing had actually happened. Yi with long white hair laughed boldly as brilliant purple and blue energy crackled around him. Yi threw himself in front of 2 frightened figures as a surge of blinding purple energy exploded toward them. A jagged rift split the air, flooding the street with swirling purple and pink energy as men shouted to evacuate and call the guards. Crackling purple energy slammed into a dark skeletal figure, sending a shockwave of damage through its twisted form. A gigantic spider monster towered over 3 terrified men, and Yi shouted that everyone needed to run or the creature would kill them. The giant spider demon lunged at the group, and the male character in a shirt shouted that it was locked onto them. A man with glasses bolted forward, shouting for Wu and Yi to protect their mother and escape as the others watched in alarm. Yi lunged at the purple flaming monster and declared he would protect his family, no matter the cost. He unleashed a barrage of energy blasts at the towering spider monster, just as the creature let out a shocked cry in response. A massive armored figure brought its weapon down on Yi, declaring with contempt that humans are simply weak by nature. A massive wooden stake shot forward and violently impaled Yi, sending blood and sparks flying from his body in a shocking instant. Flames exploded as Yi was hurled backward, and a desperate woman cried out for her husband. A woman, determined and protective, shouted for Wu to take Yi away while urging her own mother to escape immediately. A massive dark arm smashed into Yi, sending blood splattering, while a man with glasses recoiled in shock from the ground. A monstrous spider lunged at Yi, while someone nearby shouted a warning, and the creature boasted it would enjoy eating a level 10 martial artist. Arrows tore through the arm of a hostile Yi, bright impacts flashing as he reeled in shock. A fierce woman with silver hair vaulted forward, drawing her bow and shouting for her unseen target to face her. A monstrous figure with glowing red eyes lunged at a frightened woman, roaring furiously that she would die for daring to challenge it. A white-haired girl was hurled aside by a monstrous spider as a shocked Yi watched, hearing her urge him to save their parents and run. A wounded young woman lay on the ground, clutching her arm and gasping in pain. The large, menacing spider monster loomed over the young woman with long white hair, threatening to devour her and savor her as food. A white-haired girl recoiled in panic, unable to move, as a massive blade swung toward her and she frantically thought she was trapped. Blood explodes across the scene, turning everything crimson in a sudden, violent burst. He gripped his bloodied blade to shield the wounded woman, as she pleaded desperately for him to escape before it was too late. An unseen attacker stabbed Yi in the back, blood splattering as a panicked woman screamed his name and demanded to know who dared block her. Still, Yi, injured but fiercely defiant, shouted that they should just leave him alone and do whatever they wanted. Then Yi, injured and coughing blood, struggled to stand and muttered that if he were stronger, none of this would have happened. Still bleeding and overwhelmed, he cried out in frustration, demanding to know why he was so weak and unable to upgrade. A digital hexagonal pattern pulsed with urgency as an automated system broadcast an alert. A monstrous entity towered over Yi, taunting him for being weak, as a digital voice suddenly announced the King account system had activated. A fiery armored warrior with a crown erupted into view, flames swirling as a digital voice declared that the King account had been randomly selected. A young woman with flowing white hair pleaded desperately to her brother, apologizing over and over as her voice cracked with regret. A monstrous shadowy figure with glowing red eyes lunged forward, snarling that if he wanted to be eaten, then it would gladly oblige. A distraught woman with long white hair cried out, begging to know if her brother had really sacrificed himself just to buy a little more time. He steeled himself, declaring that if he couldn't escape, he would rather die fighting to avenge his brother against the monstrous creature. He dove headfirst through a blinding slash, while the shocked woman nearby shouted for everyone to get out of the way. Yi unleashed a surge of explosive energy at the giant spider monster as the anxious woman raced toward the chaos. Flames and electricity erupted around Yi as the woman, wide-eyed, hesitantly asked if he was truly her brother. Flames surged higher as Yi, determined and empowered, stood surrounded while his anxious sister urged him to escape with a desperate shout. A giant, aggressive spider crashed through the rubble, snarling that a level 3 human dared to challenge it and threatening to devour its foe. Still, Yi dropped to his knees and called for his sword, fire swirling as a blazing blade formed above him. He unleashed a blazing slash at the dark armored figure, while his opponent cried out that such power shouldn't exist at a mere level 3. He swung his glowing, fiery sword downward with fierce determination, sending a surge of energy crashing toward his enemy. He clutched his chest, gasping that the power inside him felt unbearable, while the monster sneered that a weak human like him would self-destruct. Still kneeling in a pool of blood, He declared he had to defeat his enemy before his golden transformation value ran out or he would die. A towering spider-like creature loomed over Yi, snarling that it planned to kill him here and consume more powerful fighters before the portal closed. Fiery energy exploded from Yi as he shouted for his enemy to stop and ordered the spider-like creature to go to hell. The large, black spider-like creature recoiled in shock, muttering that a power like this shouldn't exist in a level 3 warrior. A squad of armored soldiers rushed onto the wooden platform, reporting their arrival and shouting orders to rescue civilians and engage the Ghost Eye monster. Masked soldiers charged forward, one barking an order to eliminate the threat while Yi urgently tried to stop them. Yi, determined and protective, reached out with blazing eyes and warned the soldiers that going over there would get them killed. Armored fighters lunged at the giant spider as he shouted that buying a cool skin didn't make them real heroes and told them to get out of his way. One armored figure told his comrade they outnumbered the monster and its health was low, while the monster snarled in defiance. Suddenly, a heavy armored foot smashed down, splitting the ground open with a thunderous crack. Glowing spider silk shot out, binding several armored figures to the cracked earth, while one trapped fighter shouted that he TMT break free and screamed in terror. The menacing, spiked monster loomed over the human fighters and mocked them, saying it loved how humans always rushed forward without understanding their limits. Then the armored figure let out a manic laugh, declaring everyone would become his experience, as dark energy blasted 2 soldiers off their feet. Suddenly, a fierce and determined Yi named Yi charged at the monstrous, green-flamed beast, while the creature snarled that it was Yi's turn to die. Yi drove his glowing fist straight into his opponent, a surge of energy exploding outward with unstoppable force. The monster taunted Yi, boasting that monsters evolve with great difficulty, but once their level rises, the transformation is, and he planned to eat him next. The menacing creature unleashed another brutal attack and mocked Yi, saying his power had grown and now Yi couldn't even fight back. A blinding energy beam slammed into the ground, erupting in a violent burst as the attacker jeered that waste could never be anything else. Yi, exhausted and barely conscious, lay on the ground as an ominous voice announced that the ultimate red storm was ready for use. He slumped onto the ground, sweat dripping as he whispered that 3 years had passed. He stood engulfed in swirling flames, declaring that countless people had mocked him for being unable to upgrade, but that would end today. He stood engulfed in swirling flames, declaring that countless people had mocked him for being unable to upgrade, but that would end today. Lightning surged from Yi as he shouted that what others called weakness was now his ultimate technique, striking the fiery giant with full force. A raging red storm erupted as he unleashed his ultimate power, his voice echoing through the chaos with a triumphant, defiant cry. If you'd like to see your favorite titles retold, leave a comment and I'll be sure to pick some of them up from time to time. Also, let me know which video format you like, more long videos or short ones. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you again soon.